Mae Govannen, my Elven Brothers and Sisters, and today is a special video in celebration of today, World Singing Day, all about the world coming together in song. And so I'd like to continue with my series on Elves, and this is going to be Elves and the love of singing, the love of song, and how singing and music is actually, from the very beginning of the universe, is ingrained in our very genetic structure. This is really fascinating, and how truly magical and important it is, and this is why it became so important to the early elves of this world. So we're going to go ahead and talk about our love of music, our love of song, and why it is so important. And I'm actually going to give medical, biological reasons for this. Some of the recent discoveries about the music that literally exists within our genes themselves. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it.
Sam. Wood elves. They're going to the harbor beyond the White Towers. To the Grey Havens.
They're leaving Middle-earth.
Never to return. I don't know why. It makes me sad.
The music of the Ainur. There was Eru the One, who in Arda is called Iluvatar, and he made first the Ainur, the holy ones, that were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. And he spoke to them, propounding to them themes of music, and they sang before him, and he was glad. But for a long while they sang only each alone, or but few together, while the rest hearkened, for each comprehended only that part of his mind of Iluvatar from which he came. And in the understanding of their brethren they grew but slowly. Yet ever as they listened they came to deeper understanding, and increased in unison and harmony. And it came to pass that Iluvatar called together all the Ainur, and declared to them a mighty theme, unfolding to them things greater and more wonderful than he had yet revealed. And the glory of its beginning and the splendor of its end amazed the Ainur, so that they bowed before Iluvatar and were silent. Then Iluvatar said to them, Of the theme that I have declared to you, I will now that ye make in harmony together a great music. And since I have kindled you with the flame imperishable, ye shall show forth your powers in adorning this theme, each with his own thoughts and devices, if he will. But I will sit and hearken and be glad that through you great beauty has been awakened into song. Then the voices of the Ainur, like unto harps and lutes and pipes and trumpets and viols and organs, and like unto countless choirs singing with words, began to fashion the theme of Iluvatar to a great music, and a sound arose of endless interchanging melodies, woven in harmony that passed beyond hearing into the depths and into the heights. And the places of the dwelling of Iluvatar were filled to overflowing, and the music and the echo of the music went out into the void, and it was not void. Never since have the Ainur made any music like to this music, though it has been said that a greater still shall be made before Iluvatar by the choirs of the Ainur and the children of Iluvatar after the end of days. Then the themes of Iluvatar shall be played aright, and take being in the moment of their utterance, for all shall then understand fully his intent and their part, and each shall know the comprehension of each, and Iluvatar shall give to their thoughts the secret fire, being well pleased. Mae Govannen again, my Elven brothers and sisters, and today is a very special episode, again in the line of the Elves' End. And this one is Elves and Music. Why do elves have such a strong affinity or desire for music? So we're going to go ahead and talk about this now, and I love this particular subject because for myself I have always had a deep and abiding love for music. It has meant something special to me, and throughout my studies of music over the years I have learned some wonderful things about, as I said in the introduction, how we all are actually made of music. We are actually notes in a great song of the universe. And I know for some that may sound very airy-fairy, but it's actually not. It is actually proven by science that we are mere notes and chords in a very great and long-standing song that goes far, far, far back. It's interesting, I talked about this in a previous video that I did about how it was finally proven, if you want to look at it that way, about the great echo in the universe. And there is a great echo. It was back in the 1960s where AT&T engineers, or those from Bell Labs actually, these two engineers were tasked to find out what is that static that's on our lines. Why are we constantly having this background noise or static on our telephone lines? Please go out and figure out what it is. Well, they did. They went out and they researched, and they eventually figured out that, that background noise is not terrestrial. It's not from Earth. It's actually out in space. So they got together with some scientists, and they figured out that that noise, that background noise, is from what's called the hydrogen cycle. It's actually a remnant of the Big Bang. And for us, with Elven persuasion, the original music that helped create this universe. So in essence, the universe was created in music. This is what Tolkien first talked about, how it was all created with one great theme, a great song. So I'm going to talk about that today for a bit. I'm going to talk about how, and give you proof about why elves love music so much, and how we are all merely notes or chords in a great song. And I find one thing that is most fascinating is every great song, every great piece of music that has ever been written on Earth, throughout Earth's entire history, was made with only 12 notes at their disposal. Within Western style of music, there are only 12 notes of music. Quite fascinating that with just 12 notes, you can produce such amazing symphonies and such pieces of art. All right, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at a little bit. We're going to go ahead and talk about real quickly, what is music? And we're going to go over a little bit of the history of humans and their love for music, and specifically going to get into some of what Tolkien talked about, was the love that elves have for music. And then I'm going to veer off a little bit, and I'm going to actually, if you'll just hang in here for the rest of this video, you're going to hear some amazing music recorded from the planets and from actually your bodies themselves, right down to the genetic code. You actually make music. Absolutely stupendous. All right, so music. Well, music is made up of notes. A note is the pitch and duration of a musical sound. Pitch is how high or low a note sounds, and is dependent on the frequency of the vibrations of the sound waves that the sound creates. So remember that, vibrations and frequency, because that's what really makes up the whole universe. Well, the ancient Greeks certainly thought so about it too. They felt so strongly about music that they had one god, Apollo, who was in charge of both healing and music. It's interesting that they recognized thousands of years ago that music and healing go together. Recent medical studies seem to confirm what the Greeks thought. Music seems to slow the heart rate, it lowers blood pressure, and reduces levels of even stress hormones like cortisol and those kind of hormones. It can also provide some relief to heart attack and stroke victims in patients who are undergoing surgery. You've probably seen it on TV in some of the shows, and it is actually true. In some surgical units in hospitals, during surgery, they actually will play music in the background. It's not just for the surgeons or the surgical staff, but for the patient themselves. You think, well, they're put under, but you can still hear on a subconscious level. So how does music extend these benefits? Some research suggests that music may promote the brain's ability to make new connections between nerve cells. Another idea is that it works its magic through its rhythms. Humans are rhythmic beings. We get that from our elven nature. Our heartbeat, breathing, and brain waves are all rhythmic. The human brain and the nervous system are hardwired to distinguish music from noise and to respond to rhythm and repetition, tones, and tunes. One study enrolled 60 patients hospitalized for major strokes. All received standard stroke care. In addition, 1/3 of the patients listened to recorded music for at least 1 hour a day, and another third listened to audiobooks, and the final group did not receive any auditory stimulation. All right, so 1/3 listened to music, 1/3 listened to audiobooks, and 1/3 got nothing. After 3 months of at least 1 hour a day, for those that had something to listen to, they found that verbal memory improved by 60% in the music listeners, compared with only 20 to 30% in the audio group and the patients who did not receive any auditory stimulation at all. So it was 2 to 3 times the verbal memory improved just by listening to music. So we know that music is medicine. We've known that in the Elven culture for a very long time. We found that it impacts the healing, using healing harmonies and those types of things. In addition, music listeners' ability to perform and control certain mental operations improved by 17%. The patients in the other two groups did not improve at all in this area. Well, musical therapy also is used to help patients with balance and coordination. A program designed to train older adults to walk and perform various movements in time to music helped improve their gait, like those with Parkinson's, and balance when compared with their peers. Okay, I introduced a friend with severe Parkinson's disease to a friend who was a singing teacher. I thought singing might help him cope with his disease. When my friend with Parkinson's disease would find himself locked, in other words, they just can't move, unable to walk or use his arms much, he would burst out singing a few notes of an aria, like opera, which actually unlocked his legs just by doing that. Tesla, very famous engineer and inventor, Tesla described this discovery using vibrations as well. He created a device which he called the oscillation machine. And by accident, because it used certain frequencies and vibrations, by accident he found out that it seemed to actually heal people. And he described his discovery and invention as his greatest contribution to human well-being, which is a very bold statement for an inventor of the level of Nikola Tesla. Throughout the rest of his life, he would use his oscillation machine to treat people with a wide variety of health problems, from constipation to cardiovascular disease, injuries and infections, sleep disorders, and hormonal imbalances. Okay, as Tesla himself once said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. As I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, the universe was literally created with the Big Bang, this big note that went out into the universe that you can actually hear to this day. It has been a common theme in many of the scientific discoveries today that discovery after discovery, they have found that the nature of the universe is actually vibrational energy. Everything in the universe. Einstein said this, Tesla said this, so many scientists have said that the universe is really just a lot of energy in different vibrational states. So it's no wonder that music can have an effect, because if we're a vibrational state and music is no strange leap of faith to understand how music can affect the human body in healing. Pythagoras, again, one more time we're going to go back to human history, and then I'm going to talk about a little Elvish history. Pythagoras, from ancient Greek, a wonderful philosopher and mathematician, believed that music could be divided into three basic types. Musico instrumentalis, which is the music made by playing instruments. Musica humana, and this is important, the unheard, continuous music made by each human organism, especially the resonance between the soul and the body. And I'm going to have some wonderful audio clips to play for you here in just a few to prove that here this man was thousands of years ago, and he was right. There is indeed music within our bodies and within the spheres themselves, and that's what he went on to next. So there were three things he said: musica instrumentalis, musica humana, and the final was musica mundana, music made by the cosmos, which would later become known as the music of the spheres. So NASA has finally proven that there is indeed music of the spheres. So this universe we live in is literally made from and continues to be made from music. We live our lives within a true symphony, and the elves of old knew this and incorporated it into their lives. So let's go ahead and take a little break here, and let's talk about a little bit of the history of elven music as described by Tolkien, and then I've got the big surprise towards the end here. I'm going to let you listen to actual music from the spheres and from within our bodies. All right, I'm going to go ahead and talk about one of the most beautiful examples of an elven individual from the Silmarillion, and that was Luthien Tinuviel. If you read nothing else from the Silmarillion, even if you don't ever read The Lord of the Rings, I highly recommend that you read the story of Beren and Tinuviel, Beren and Luthien. Probably to me one of the greatest love stories there ever was, and her love was so great. She was an elven one, and she was in love with Beren, who was immortal. And her love was so great that that passion, that will went into her music, and she was able to accomplish some wonderful things, at least according to Tolkien. So here's a passage where both her and Beren are before Morgoth, who was considered, you could say, he was the devil. He was Satan, he was Lucifer. And they were on a quest to regain at least one Silmaril, and it was on his crown. So here was this great Ainu, who was a great angel, so to speak, the devil himself, and they were before him. And even Beren was afraid of him, but Luthien was not. And so here they are before him. He could crush them more or less with just a thought. And this is the passage from the Silmarillion and what music did in their case, again, according to Tolkien. She was not daunted by his eyes, and she named her own name. Now, just for your information, that is a huge thing within ancient legends and myth, is when you tell someone your true name, you actually give them some power over you. But she knew that he could not do that he could not hold power over her. And she named her own name and offered her service to sing before him, after the manner of a minstrel. Then Morgoth, looking upon her beauty, conceived in his thought an evil lust, in a design more dark than any that had yet come into his heart, since he had fled from Valinor. Thus he was beguiled by his own malice, for he watched her, leaving her free for a while, and taking secret pleasure in his thought. Then suddenly she eluded his sight, and out of the shadows began a song of such surpassing loveliness and of such blinding power that he listened perforce, meaning he couldn't help it. And a blindness came upon him as his eyes roamed to and fro, seeking her. All his court were cast down in slumber, and all the fires faded and were quenched. But the Silmarils and the crown on Morgoth's head blazed forth suddenly with a radiance of white flame. And the burden of that crown and of the jewels bowed down his head, as though the world were set upon it, laden with a weight of care, of fear, and of desire, that even the will of Morgoth could not support. Then Luthien, catching up her winged robe, sprang into the air, and her voice came dropping down like rain into pools, profound and dark, she cast her cloak before his eyes and set upon him a dream, dark as the outer void where once he walked alone. All right, so here she was able to sing even the devil to sleep. Okay, sounds pretty powerful and for some unbelievable, but wait till you hear again how much we are actually composed of music, and we are merely notes in the great song of the universe. In another passage, she was before Sauron's walls. Sauron was basically the lieutenant of Morgoth, yet another fallen angel. And it goes, in that hour Luthien came, because Beren was actually captured within, and she was there to free him. So here we have an elf getting ready to fight a fallen angel. And in that hour Luthien came, and standing before the bridge that led to Sauron's isle, she sang a song that no walls of stone could hinder. Beren heard, and he thought that he dreamed, for the stars shone above him, and in the trees nightingales were singing. And in answer he sang a song of challenge that he had made in praise of the 7 stars, the sickle of the Valar, that Varda hung above the north as a sign for the fall of Morgoth. Then all strength left him, and he fell down into darkness, and she was able to eventually save him. All right, and then one last passage, and then we're going to get to some beautiful music that's actually exists within you. Well, they continued with their quest, and they succeeded. And but in the process, Beren was poisoned, and he was dying. And so, moments before his death, she told him, she said, "You wait for me in the halls of Mandos, where we all go and wait." She said, "You wait for me in the halls of Mandos and don't move on. Wait for me, and I will be there." In other words, she had to pass away too. And from pure love for him and grief of their parting, she passed as well. And so she went on to the halls of Mandos, and here again, she sang a song. But Luthien came to the halls of Mandos, where are the appointed places of the Eldelier, the elves, beyond the mansions of the west, upon the confines of the world. There those that wait sit in the shadow of their thought. But her beauty was more than their beauty, and her sorrow deeper than their sorrows. And she knelt before Mandos and sang to him. For those that don't know, Mandos is basically the angel of the dead. He keeps their souls until it's time for them to move on or be reborn. The song of Luthien before Mandos was the song most fair that ever in words was woven, and the song was most sorrowful that ever the world shall ever hear. Unchanged, imperishable, it is still sung in Valinor, beyond the hearing of the world, and the listening the Valar grieved. For Luthien wove 2 themes of words, of the sorrow of the Eldar, the elves, and the grief of men, of the 2 kindreds that were made by Ilúvatar to dwell in Arda, the kingdom of earth, amid the innumerable stars. And she knelt before him. Her tears fell upon his feet like rain upon stones, and Mandos was moved to pity, who never before was so moved, nor has been since. And he actually granted them something that they'd never had before, the chance to come back and live their lives again, and to be together once more. Amazing story, absolutely amazing. So again, those are all, I get it, those are from the perception of Tolkien. True or not, it's what Tolkien perceived and wrote down in tales for us to learn about something about the beauty of music, because it's well known that Tolkien was highly in love with music himself and was moved by it, and it was a very strong part of his life. So as elves, we love music because we know it's inherently a part of the universe itself. It's how the universe was created. And we know that it has amazing healing abilities, which is being proven to this day. So here we go. I would love to play you a few tracks. These were made by NASA and made by genetic scientists. These are not boring. These are amazing to prove that indeed the elves were right, that we are all made from music, that music is it's the foundation of magic. It's the foundation of the universe. and that it does heal, and that it exists within each one of us. So I'm going to go ahead and take a few minutes out here, and I'm going to describe each piece that I'm getting ready to play, and I think that maybe you will be as moved as I. The first piece I'd like to play is, let's go all the way back to the ancient Greeks, and let's talk about the music of the spheres. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a few clips from a video produced by NASA. And this was a recording of the sound that comes from a variety of different planets. So you're going to be listening to, like, one of the most moving is just the background noise that these planets make. And one of my favorites, of course, is at.P.M, is Earth. But I'm going to show it from, you're going to listen to the sounds of various different planets. So what the Greeks would have loved to have had, you'll actually get to listen to a little bit of the music of the spheres and these background noises or sound. It explains why so many of the ancients, when they did their meditations, they had various different tones, like the Om and those. It was our instinct. We are linked with the planet, and we know that vibration on an instinctual level. So I'm going to play a few of those. It'll show you in the clip which planet this is. We're going to do that for a moment. And then I'm going to get back, and we're going to actually get down to the music that you make as a human being. Although space is a virtual vacuum, this does not mean there is no sound in space. Sound does exist as electromagnetic vibrations. Through specially designed instruments aboard the NASA Voyager and other space probes, they were able to use the plasma wave vibrations all from within the human hearing range. The recorded sounds are complex interactions of charged electromagnetic particles from the solar wind. Following is a series of recordings of a multitude of planetary objects. The following is a sample of some of the original recordings from NASA. Here is Jupiter. This is Miranda, which is a moon of Uranus. This amazing sound is from the rings of Uranus. One of my favorite planets, Saturn. Part of the beloved song of at.P.M, of our Earth. The actual sound from the planet Uranus. And last but very much not least, again, some of the voice of our Earth. There is indeed a choir that comes to us from the heavens. When you go out on a starry night, some quiet night, remember that when you look up into the heavens, you are looking up into a symphony, an orchestra, music that comes to us and surrounds us each and every day of our lives if we would just listen. Okay, I'd like to go on now to you, to how you truly are a note in the grand orchestra of life itself. We're going to actually play some sounds of you, of what a human being and what we sound like on a genetic level. You might be amazed at some of the sounds that we play. A little background into how this was all discovered about our individual music. We go back to Dr. Susumu Uno. He was a geneticist with the Beckman Institute at the City of Hope Hospital in California. So this was not just some new age philosopher. This is an actual geneticist, and what he discovered was that every molecule within us, every protein, every chemical that's within our body actually vibrates and has its own frequency. And he actually developed 15, actually, I guess you could say, composed by taking those vibrations and translating them over into the Western style of music. Remember the 12 notes. He actually was able to play back what those vibrations and those frequencies sounded like. So again, he produced about 15 different compositions from different life forms. Well, this did not go unnoticed, and other scientists began to take note of this and started doing some research. And they found that indeed, everything in life has a particular vibration or frequency. And now they've been able to actually develop equipment that can see the actual imaging equipment that can see our individual proteins vibrating. And they found that through the discoveries of this, they found that our DNA requires this sound, these vibrations, in order to replicate. In order for us to live, we literally have to have music. We have to have sound. Absolutely incredible. So I'm going to go ahead and play. I'm going to go ahead and start with one of the molecules that was translated over. And this is an insulin molecule that they were able to go in, and they've gone so far now that they will sequence the DNA from a particular organism or individual, and they can take that and translate those vibrations over into their corresponding notes, the actual notes. So I'm going to play a small clip here, very small, of a scientist giving a lecture explaining that to you so that you can hear what he's trying to help you understand. And then he's actually going to play the music from an insulin molecule. Insulin, one of the hormones, is produced by our pancreas to help us assimilate glucose, sugar, and such. So I think you'll be quite amazed and understand this was actual medical science. So this is fascinating. Again, proof of why elves love music. So take a listen, if you would.
And you're going to hear two melodies repeating one after the other. Insulin has two chains, and you're going to hear both of the chains. So let's listen. That's one insulin molecule. The ribosomes in your pancreases and the islets of Langerhans that make insulin are making thousands of those per second.
And in case you were wondering, this wonderful blessing and gift of music is not just for elves or human or fae or other kin, but for all of the gentle creatures, our brothers and sisters that live throughout this universe that was created for us. An upcoming very short clip is about an elephant sanctuary, elephants who have been rescued from the hard hands of humans and have been given a sanctuary to live on, and a wonderfully gentle man, obviously elven within him, takes his time out and goes to the sanctuary and plays for these elephants. And they found that those who have been suffering from extreme depression or anxiety at the hands of humans find healing with the music that this man plays. Enjoy. So I hope this shows you a little bit about why elves love music, why music is such an integral part of our being. It's not that we just simply love music because we know that it can heal and because it's so much a part of the fabric of the universe, but because we are music. We are all notes and chords in the great symphony of life. As I said before, elves have known since the beginning the magic of music, elven love for music, and we are merely notes in a greater song. So cherish that special note that you have. There is no other note in the universe like you. There are now companies out there that will take your DNA swab and will record and compose the music of your DNA. And one of the beauties of that is no one song is the same. Everyone has a unique music, a unique song. That is you, that is only you, and no one else in the universe has your particular song. So you are special. You are a note, you are a chord, and you are a song, and the great song of life. Cherish that. And recognize the divinity that is you, the sacredness and rarity that is you. I hope you all enjoyed this, and thank you for listening, my friends. And until we are together again next time, may you be blessed by the elves. My name is Dr. Erendil Spindalelis, and I am the Elven Scholar. Namarie.